Paintball nerd. Today's guest on Paintball Nerd started playing paintball in 2000. He started competing in 2007. And in 2015, he turned pro with Baltimore Revo. He's joined a new team for the 2024 season. It's the Ironmen. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Henry Sentz.
How's it going, man?
Good, man. Happy to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Of course. So tell me about how you got started in tournament paintball.
Tournament paintball. I mean, it's, every cliche you hear, you go to a paintball field for a birthday party. Next thing you know, it's like, oh man, this is a lot of fun. Get to go out and shoot a bunch of my buddies and, talk a little smack. And, next thing I know, it went from a Sunday paintball here and there to let's go play a 5-man tournament at a local field, and figured out that we were pretty decent and just kept playing more and more tournaments and traveling and spending more money and getting addicted little by little.
Yep. So where was your first tournament? What field was it?
My first tournament would have been at OA Bowie in Maryland, and it would have been the they called them the almost free 5-man tournaments. It was
Almost
only like
free.
it was only like $100 for entry, and you just had to buy paint. And
Almost free.
yeah, it was close. I mean, but just a good time. I believe it was, I want to say it was even on Hyperball then. I don't even think they had an airball field.
That's the way. That's what I like.
Mm-hmm.
The clackle of the paintballs hitting the hyperball tubes. It's just, nothing like
Right.
it. So anyone on that team that you still play with today or still plays pro?
No, oddly enough, probably 15 years later, one of them ended up working for the same company I do now. So I get to see him all the time, but nobody from that team. Yeah. Yeah.
Where do you work?
Oh, sorry. I work for Life Safety Systems. It's a commercial fire alarm security, elevator communication. It's basically anything safety-wise for a commercial building.
Gotcha. So you have a teammate that now works with you, but no one that continued to play paintball from that original squad.
No.
So how'd you end up with Omara and your current group now?
That's a funny story too. So the first field that I ever played at was Route 40 Paintball, which was owned by Tommy Malachewski, famous image player.
Oh yeah.
He taught me how to play paintball with his son Julian, and their speedball scene started going downhill a little bit, and they want more to parties, and got invited to Paintball Adventure Park, which was where Nasty and all those guys originated from, the original 7-man team. Mm-hmm. Get out there. I meet a group of guys. They're like, hey, we're having tryouts if you're interested. And it ended up being Revolution at the time. I think Steven was on the team for maybe a month. And they're like, we're going to run some breakout drills. And, Steven at the time was this ballsy little kid that thought he was, the greatest thing ever. And he's like, I'm gonna float here and go to the snake. And I'm like, well, just duck because I'm going to be shooting. Sure enough, he didn't duck. I 4-clapped him in the back of the head and knocked him out. First out with him meeting the kid. And, it's just been a long story ever since. So,
did you really knock him out cold or just?
Oh, he was out. Like,
no
out.
kidding.
Like, we were probably, I'd say my barrel was less than a foot from the back of his head. He went down forehead first and was out.
Oh man, start of a beautiful friendship.
Yeah, I mean, we can only go up from there, right?
Exactly. So what year was this? What year was Revolution?
This would have been the end of 2008 is when I tried out for them. And they would have been the first team starting in 2009 where we were playing like competitive series, not just one-off tournaments. And so that would have been the end of 2008, beginning of 2009.
So then like 6 or 7 years later, that team becomes Revo?
Correct. Yep. And I want to say 2012, I took it over. Originally, there was, a Captain Mike that was only there for a tournament or two, and then Carlos Beltran took it over with our field owner, Rick Hartman, at the time, basically working with him to run the team. And then Carlos ended up doing other things and basically asked me to take it over around that 2012, 2013 era.
And right now, Tom Four runs it, right?
Yeah, Tom is the new owner of Revo.
Okay. So when did he take over?
He came in the beginning, or I guess it would have been the end of 22 for that World Cup, going into the 2023 season, taking over.
Dang. So you ran Revo for quite a while
Yeah.
before Tom took over.
Yeah, Tom is very recent to the to Revo. I had two formal partners beforehand. The man who owned Paintball Venture Park in Maryland, which was the mecca of Maryland paintball for 20 some years, Rick Hartman, was my partner with the team. His son played on the team. He sponsored us, basically built, what Revo is now. And he ended up going a different direction, and then met another partner a few years later. Same thing, went a different direction. Paintball just wasn't for him. And then Tom came along as I guess a year and a half, 2 years ago, and wanted to be a part of it.
Man, so how did it feel for you, Henry, to leave a team that you've had such a big role in? Like you were running the team.
As far as the team part of it, it was a big relief for me. It's just running a team is, and unless someone that actually runs a professional team knows it's a full-time job, it's you're always on the phone, you're dealing with prima donna players wanting X, Y, and Z, or this flight doesn't work for me, or can you do this? Can I have an extra gun? Can you get my gun anodized? It's a full-time job, and I have a career. I got married last year. So it was just becoming to a point. It's like paintball wasn't fun for me anymore.
It was a job.
Yeah, and it was getting to the point to where I wasn't enjoying it. I won't say I didn't want to be there, because all the guys on Revo, even to this date, are still some of my closest friends. Half of them were in my wedding and at my wedding, and I've grown up with them. And it's like those guys aren't just like friends. A lot of those guys I consider family.
Yeah.
And for me, making the move it was a decision based, what was best for, my wife and I at the time. And this was the only logical way for me to continue playing paintball. I couldn't stay on Revo because there would never be a point to where I wouldn't have a hand in running it. It's
right.
Being involved with it for so long, I wouldn't just be able to sit there and agree with something I didn't agree with.
Right.
So it was very tough. The conversations with Ironmen went back and forth for months, turned it down, and then rethought it. And basically was like, I just called Billy back and was like, hey man, I just need to change my life, or I'm just not going to play this year. And it was hard. I mean, I've never quit a team since I've been playing paintball. So that was a very new thing. And having those conversations with the guys on the team was really hard.
Yeah, I bet. But it sounds like, a burden was lifted.
Oh, 100%. I've been excited. I've wanted to go to the field and practice even when it's blistering cold out here. And it's just, the excitement of just being able to show up and have a gun put in my hand and be told what to go and do. And the unknown is probably the greatest thing I've had in a long time. It's,
just go play.
Yeah, I mean, landed in California 2 weeks ago, had no idea what we were doing, just get picked up and driven around. And it's like, all right, cool. This works for me. I'd rather just not know and not have to worry about anything.
Yeah, man. That makes paintball fun again when you don't have all the responsibility associated with running a team with a bunch of what's the term you used?
Prima donnas.
And we're all guilty, right? Every pro player can be guilty of that at some point.
Myself too. I mean, I can be needy just like anyone else and can whine if the hotel is not as nice as I want, or if, the flight's too early or too late. I mean, everybody's guilty of something. I mean, prima donna is just a vague term. It's not being disrespectful. It's just
Sure.
anybody that whines about something at one point in time could be, considered a prima donna.
Yeah, we're like I said, we're all guilty of that.
Right.
So so how do you feel about your new squad?
I mean, for me, it's only a new team name. And what a lot of people won't realize this is, I've played tournaments with Tom Guest and Zach, Scott Graham, Mitch Finley, all those guys I played tournaments with.
Hmm.
Keith and Kyle, two of the original Ironmen guys, I've known for probably 12 plus years. It's never played on a team with them, but have practiced them. Mikey McGowan's the only one that I haven't really had a lot of, you know, interaction with other than playing against him in divisionals. Damien
Damien.
lived in Virginia Beach and practiced at Paintball Adventure Park for years, played with a team that was the other top team at the field. So, there's not a single new face on this team to me. So it was not a hard transition. It's just going in with a bunch of guys I already know and just trying to figure it out as gelling on the field.
So you guys have had one practice, right? That was the one at ASG,
Right.
and that was short lived, right?
No, so like everyone thinks it was like a blow up and it was just like kicked out. I mean, realistically, we probably had 4 points left before we had to start making our flights on Sunday when the
Ah,
whole debacle went down, and that's why we didn't even make a big deal about it. Shane was like, let's just roll out type thing.
right.
But I mean, it definitely ended with a bang. I mean, it was pretty comical to watch from the outside. A bunch of people acting not very professional, I should say.
What? So from your perspective, what happened?
Um, well, I mean, there was a little bit of chirping going back and forth on Sunday, just like any practice. I shot you, you cheated, blah blah
Yeah,
blah. Points
typical.
over. People were like, "Hey, man, sorry." Aftermath was playing well, and they were probably Sunday morning. They were beating on us quite a bit, and then we went on a run and a little bit of chirping, nothing big, and then it came down to, and it was funny because I caught the tail end of it. I had walked to the car to go get water. And as I'm walking back, I see a one-on-one going on. I can hear Steven say something. At the time, I didn't know what he said. And then I hear the aftermath coach slash owner. He said something like, "Shut up, don't talk to players while they're on the field."
Hmm.
And then I hear Steven go, "It's only practice." And he laughs. So like literally just like, ha ha, it's only practice. And then next thing I know is you laughed at me, get the hell out of my field, you're gone. I'm like, what is going on? So I asked him, I'm like, what did you say to piss him off? And he's like, I just told the player the game's not over, it's a one-on-one. And it's like,
Hmm.
it's practice. Like we're not playing for anything. It's not a layout practice. And I guess, Wayne just kind of blew a fuse maybe, or maybe he had something building up towards that.
Sure.
But and then he ended up just telling the whole team to leave. It's, I mean, it wasn't as like outlandish as everyone thinks it was. There was, you know, really no, other than that exchange of words with Steven and Wayne, there was nothing else that happened. We were
Hmm.
on parking lot, gear down, had a few beers, and then headed to the airport, and it's all it is. I mean, no bad blood. We thanked all the aftermath guys as we were leaving. I mean, it was, other than that last point, I thought it was a great weekend of practice. With Dynasty and them, but he runs a tight ship over there.
Yeah, definitely. So how do you think you guys are gonna do in Vegas? What is your feeling on that?
Mm. I'll tell you the same thing I told Billy. I think the team now is a Sunday team. Past Sunday depends on how quickly we're able to put it together. You know,
Mhm.
we have two great coaches in Shane and Paxton. We have endless support with Billy, Chris, and Devin, and all them from Die and Dave Youngwood. So this team literally, unlike any team I've ever been a part of before, has everything we need to win.
Yeah.
So it's really going to depend on us as players putting it together. Everybody, dropping egos and just coming in humble with open minds and being open for new suggestions and, new ways of doing things. Because, like, Tom coming from X Factor probably had a way he did things in the past, just like Steven and I have a way we've done things in the past. And
For sure.
the first practice was really good about that, where, we came in and Shane's like, hey, it's like, if you want to make the calls with the guys and do all that, I'm cool with it. I could care less about it, whatever makes sense for you guys. So that was easy. I feel like the team is gelling well, but when it came to like situations, the team struggled a little bit of just making bad decisions. So if we
Yeah.
can get that figured out in the next few weeks coming, I I truly think we have a top 8 team. Time will tell past that. I mean, I wouldn't have joined the team if I didn't think there was a chance we could win.
Hmm.
But I don't want to come in here and say we're going to win Vegas, because I don't think that's necessarily a realistic goal for a new team. I think making Sunday and getting past that is a good goal to have for a new team coming in.
Oh, for sure, dude. If you guys make Sunday in Vegas, that's a goal worth striving for. Um, you know, and like it's okay to think optimistic, right? Like, yeah, we're gonna win Vegas, and that you go there with the intention, but
Right.
you know, it's good to be realistic with your goals. Um, so it sounds like you've had with the Ironman, it sounds like you've had more resources than you've ever had before, and you have
Yeah.
less stress than you've ever had before, and
Right.
we could see a different Henry Sentz than we're used to.
I get to play free and just play paintball now. So it's even like last weekend, it was just, I felt like I played pretty good. I thought I played very well at Cup. And I'm healthy now. I'm coming off the knee injury, and I'm excited to play paintball again, which is something that I haven't been this amped up to do in a long time. So
It affects your game, dude. When you are
yeah.
excited to play paintball, that certainly changes the way you play, no doubt about
Right.
it.
Right.
So you mentioned something about you guys kinda having struggle putting it together when like, in tough scenarios, is that how you worded
Yeah,
it?
like low body, 2-on-2s, and just
Yeah,
basically any kind of like a closing situation that you could ever encounter. It just didn't seem like it was as buttery as it would be
sure.
for a veteran team playing together. There was just a couple guys that made bad decisions that costed bodies and lost points. It got better towards the end of the weekend, but that was the one point where the team did seem to be struggling a little bit, which, I mean, rightfully so. I mean,
For
half the
sure.
team probably has not played paintball since World Cup coming into that practice. Um,
Well, yeah, no, and also in those situations, you got a low body situation, and it it's hard for the team to really trust each other at that point. So
right,
everyone kinda get into the mode of it's on me. And
right,
that's how mistakes happen. Someone tries to do something on their own.
right.
So I think that'll be fixed with just you guys playing together more, you know?
Correct. And we're going to New Orleans this weekend to practice the Hurricanes. We leave Friday, so um, I'm fairly confident coming out of this weekend. Any kind of little critiques we need to make within the group of players to really make us come together will be solved by Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
I mean, Shane's just a big component of preaching that is, doing it together. And that's really the only thing that's going to help us going into Vegas is if we're playing as 5 guys instead of one.
Yeah. How do you feel about Shane?
I've always been a big fan of Shane. Um, my first World Cup I ever won in 2011 was our D3 year, and he was on royalty. And Shane talks a lot of shit and says he used to pound on me in divisional paintball. Never lost to that guy a day in my life. We sent them home in so many tournaments, and he still chirps like he's the big dog. Never lost to him ever. Um,
Oh, I
I
love
mean,
it.
anybody, it's simple. Like, and I'll be a fanboy and say it. Anybody grew up watching the Ironmen knew Shane Pestana, knew that he was the commander of the legendary ship. Like even like when we went through the dive facility, I was going through the archives and I found,
Oh my god.
where's it at? Oh, this way.
There
Found
you go.
this. And I immediately texted him. I said, I don't really care, but I'm stealing this and wearing it this weekend. And he said, have at it. We're in Vegas for all I care. So,
Dude.
finding that was cool for me. Um, But I mean, I've always been a big fan of Shane. I think he's a great mind for the game, and I think Paxton only helps that grow even more because you have two legends coaching a team that have won more paintball tournaments or coached more wins than most people have played.
That's true. You guys got all the ingredients, man.
Yeah, yeah.
So Henry, I mean, you've been in pro paintball for a long time. What do you what memories really stand out for you?
Whew. There's a lot. I would say probably the biggest memory would have been when we were in Challengers. It would have been Riverside. I guess that was 2015 or 16. We had won 4-0, and we were going to play. At that time, it went prelims to semifinals. So we were watching, I want to say, X Factor and Infamous play. They were both in the Challengers at the time. And the loser of that played us. Or the winner of that, the winner would play X Factor, the loser would play Revo because we beat X Factor in the prelims. They were the 2 seed coming out. And
Okay,
we
yeah.
watched Infamous and Aftershock try everything they could to throw a match to lose it. Like shooting their guys in the back before they hung the flag and getting majors. It
What?
was like the biggest like slap in our face ever. And Infamous, lost it harder than Aftershock, I guess. So they came out to play us and they went up 2 or 3 points really quick and we just went on a run. Tied it up, ended up hitting the buzzer with 3 or 4 seconds left on it to win it. Damien gets a
Nice.
major to send us to our first technically pro finals, even though it was challengers at the time. I'd say the other biggest memory, and it's not a good one, was blowing a 4-0 lead against
Mm,
Dynasty 2 years ago in the
mhm.
semifinals. That was one that hurt.
How'd
Um,
that happen?
Momentum, those guys, I mean, they're good, and they just started punching and exploiting, every weakness we had on that layout. And, it went from us just controlling to us scrambling to react. And it just felt like chaos for us those last 4 points. And that's where a senior team like Dynasty can really see the frustration and just continue to put it on. We had a few bad penalties, and just we kind of crumbled. It was sad.
Dude. So walk me through that emotional roller coaster. Like your 4 point, you have a 4 point lead, like we're gonna slay the dragon.
Yep.
Walk me through the rest of that.
Uh, I mean, it went, and I hate to say it, we went into cruise control, kind of took our
Mm,
foot off the gas,
mm,
stopped taking risks, started getting penalties, started getting stuck in the back, and they just kept punching. 1 point led to two, two led to three. Um, I don't really remember anybody blowing up, but you can see people were starting to kind of doubt it.
yeah.
Um, just Benny ended up getting a really bad major that shouldn't have been a penalty in my opinion.
What was
And
it?
him and Blake traded. Like Blake came around the bunker Benny. He was playing the 50 structure at the time. And Benny had his gun up and pointed that way. But because when he shot Blake, he took the initiative to make sure he put another ball on him. He gets a
Mhm.
major, even though Blake was still shooting back as well. But I mean, it's just how it goes. I mean, a few points prior to that, Blake got the same exact penalty
Yeah.
on, I believe, when Rob ran him down. So it's like, it's just one of those things that happens. But, we got complacent, kept running the same thing that was working for us all tournament, even though those last 4 points, Dynasty picked it apart.
Hmm.
Um, this was a layout that where we were sending one body wide snake side, which is what I was playing because nobody was really running anywhere. And we were, trying to blow the Dorito side in the center out. And you can watch the overtime point. Dynasty literally had 4 guns shooting for sheer on the Dorito side in the overtime point alone. And,
Jeez.
Steven and I had asked, it's like, why don't we just run the snake? The last 2 points. And our coach
Just
was
try
like,
it.
I don't want to risk it.
Hmm.
We hadn't done it the whole tournament. They weren't going to expect it. Could it have been a different outcome? Maybe.
Yeah.
But it was sad. It was very, it was heartbreaking because, all of us have wanted to play in a pro finals and we were so close and we had them. But, then we lost and then realized we took third. And for a lot of us, that was the first time we've ever medaled in the NXL. So
Yeah.
it was followed by, kind of a sorry you sucked, but here's a medal,
Silver lining. Yeah.
Yeah, cheer up.
Yeah. So was it like, do you think the overall feeling was we dropped the ball, or it was like Dynasty is who we thought they were? Or maybe both.
It was a little bit of both. I definitely think we beat ourselves, but I mean, they put the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
And, guys like that. And I just remember, Archie and Ryan were just, those last 4 points they were just feasting.
Yeah. Just going off.
Just running and we couldn't stop them. I mean, that's just what those guys do. They've done it for, probably close to a decade, it's not going to
Yeah.
stop.
Well, Henry, I can tell that you have a championship mindset because the way that you talk about losses is a lot different than the way that you talk about victories. It's like I can tell that the losses like kind of stick with you, and it's like
Yeah.
you got to learn something from that. Like that's how a
Right.
champion looks at losses, right?
Right.
So,
I mean, you never, even in practice, you don't learn anything from winning. A
no.
team beating the brakes off of you is how you learn to fix what's broken.
Yep.
And anybody that's ever played high level paintball, it's, the losses stick with you more than anything. And
For sure.
it's, like I can't tell you, who we beat at World Cup. I could tell you who beat us to send us home.
There you go.
And it's like that is just the things you never forget.
Yeah.
For me, I always go back because I always watch our matches after a tournament. I'll go to the gym and run and put them on, and I always start with games we lost.
Mm.
So I went back and watched the Impact game and saw that the same problem we had against Dynasty, which is complacency. We didn't adjust well, and it's just tough to watch.
And I think it's a good feeling for people to experience. No one likes it, right? No one likes the feeling of loss, but that feeling that you get is what prevents you from losing in the future.
Right,
Avoiding that feeling, right?
right. It's the ultimate lesson of learning from your mistakes.
There you go.
So
You ever travel anywhere cool for paintball?
yeah, I've been to Canada a bunch. They played a CXPL. Was to this day probably my favorite tournaments I played. The old school raw X ball, 15 balls a second, 2 30-minute halves. I went to London to play an NXL Europe event.
Nice.
That was an awesome experience. We went over for 2 weeks and just explored in London and had a great time.
Who'd you play with?
Revo, actually. We took like a hybrid team from, it was me and Josh Pike from the pro team. And then we took a bunch of our semi-pro team guys and guys that played on the A team at the time and just went over with a bunch of friends. And I think we got like fifth or something. Like Mark Johnson's team at the time knocked us out. But that was another blast.
Was that your first time traveling overseas for paintball?
That was my first time I ever went overseas, period. So it was a
Thank
great
God for
experience.
paintball.
Yeah, I mean, paintball has taken me all over the world and I love it.
So where else?
All over. I've probably been in all but maybe 2 or 3 states in the United States. Um, been to Canada a bunch, been to Europe. We were supposed to go play the Super Sevens in Australia,
Oh,
and
you want
then
to do that?
and then COVID hit and
Mm.
canceled that, which really stunk. Other than that, we're getting to say I get to go to Vegas all the time to play paintball is pretty cool too.
It is cool.
Yeah, I mean that's just another awesome experience for people that haven't been.
I want to do the Australian Super 7. You know they do 15 balls a second.
Yeah, that's a bucket list thing for me. I still want to get over there pretty badly.
You know, back in the day, before 15 balls a second, it was full auto uncapped.
Yeah, NXL mode, 3 pulls and just hold it down. Yeah,
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 that's my day, buddy.
yeah. I wish I got to do that. That would be a whole new definition of overshooting somebody.
Yeah, but it's good for content, you know.
Oh, for sure. For
Like seeing
sure.
people, like today when people like do the Mexican standoff and they just blow each other up, you know, it's great. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's great, but it gets a lot of views, right? Gets a
Right.
lot of attention because I think people they like the carnage, right? They like to see the
Right.
car crash.
Right.
So, but it's also like brutal on paint sponsors, right? Or
Yeah.
whoever's paying for the paintballs shooting
Yeah. I
full auto.
remember when we were playing CXBL, we were shooting in a weekend like over 200 cases of paint, and I believe the guys were paying like $70 or $80 a case for paint.
Jeez.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I couldn't even imagine that.
Yeah, so I mean, the evolution that X ball has taken, I think, is they've done it for the right reasons.
Right.
But, you know, I'm an old guy and I'm nostalgic, so.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
So, so London, Canada, all over the United States, and paintball's because of paintball, you've got to experience some awesome things.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, it's all of my closest friends I've met from paintball. Um, the company that I work for, I met the owner through paintball.
Mm,
So like paintball has really helped push my life in a positive direction and, help me adult a little bit easier per se.
sure.
Um, I wouldn't change it for the world. Even looking back now and everything I've gone through with paintball, it was all worth it.
In the future, do you see yourself like when you're old, you know, in your 50s or 60s, like do you see yourself quitting paintball or doing something in paintball still?
Um, That's a hard question. I mean, I'm sure whenever I have kids, that will probably be something I try to implement on them is taking them to a paintball field. So if that happens, and I'll probably always have somewhat kind of an involvement in paintball.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll continue to, play how I am now when I'm old and decrepit, 50, 60 years old. But I'm sure I'll still always want to check in and watch tournaments, or I mean, who knows? I could even be coaching or something. Then I
Jingo.
mean, you never know.
You love paintball.
I do, yeah, I do. It's been, I mean, I've been playing it for a long time now, so it's fun for me.
If you could go back in time to 2000 when young Henry first picked up a paintball gun at a birthday party, what advice would you give him to expedite his journey to pro?
Oh, man, just don't half-ass it. I mean, if you're gonna do it, just do it. Um, a big part of my success was my parents. They're like, hey, we'll support you playing this as if this is what you want to do, but you're going to do it every weekend. We'll make sure you have paint money and X, Y, and Z and a ride. But if
Wow.
you're going to do it, it's not, in and out, in and out. It's, this is what you're going to be doing, and that's it. Because, I was a good baseball player at the time, and I probably could have did something in college for baseball. And I chose paintball over that. And that was like a big reason I think my parents were pushing me in a direction of, this isn't going to be a hobby. It's something you're going to dedicate to.
Hmm.
There's a lot of people that talk about wanting to go pro, and even I've seen at my local fields, but they don't play every weekend. When I back in the 2000s and 2009, when I really started competing, I was playing every Saturday and Sunday, sometimes Wednesday nights, Friday nights, and 2 times a week, could have been 4 times a week. I had a gun in my hand, and and I was living paintball at that time. I would.
Dude, this is crazy. Like, okay, so you could have had a career in baseball. You could have
I
been the
wouldn't
best at
say.
baseball.
I don't think I could have played in college.
Yeah, sure. You could have played in
Yeah,
college, but the striking thing to me is that your parents said you're gonna go if you're not gonna play baseball, you're gonna go all in on paintball.
right,
When most parents don't even know that paintball is something that you can do professionally, and if they
right,
do know it, they don't think very highly of it.
right.
So, how did what do your parents know about paintball for them to kind of support you and
So
push you in this direction?
my mom is like a very different type of parent. She is like if I told her I wanted to go and cut grass for a living, she would support it. You
Mm,
know, she would never tell me no. She would let me learn by my own failures because
mm,
she doesn't ever want to be the one to hold me back from something that could have been a dream. So
sure.
as I started getting into it, you know, like any other parent, they research it and they start seeing more and more and more. And as she was learning more, she was pushing for me to do more. You know, because at the time that I was playing paintball, I wasn't driving, so my mom was driving me to all these fields. You know, she was seeing all the teams and the tournaments, and um, she learned very quickly that it wasn't just like a hobby sport. That you know there was professionals and you know circuits and leagues. You know, she came to a lot of tournaments, saw a lot. You know, even to this day, she still comes for the Philly event every year. Um,
It's
so, like,
beautiful.
yeah, I mean, she's the ultimate supporter. Um, you know, she'll make sure to get 5, 6, 7 Revo shirts and all that before every tournament and have a little fan club going on in the stands. So
Dude.
I was very
I hope
lucky.
parents are listening to this. Like, I hope a lot of parents hear this and figure out a way to support their kids playing paintball, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it to me, it's whatever the sport is, you know, it's if your kids want to do it, as long as it's not affecting their lives in a negative way, it's supported. Because I mean, I never thought I'd be in this position. You know, I when I started playing, I never thought I'd own a brand new gun. You know, I thought it was just going to be for fun, and you
Yeah.
know, 20 some years later, you know, sitting here playing for you know one of the legacy teams and traveling to California all the time and all over the world, 30 flights a year. You know, it's I never thought any of that was possible, and I don't think my mom truly did either.
So
But
what did your so go back to the moment you're going to London. Mom, I'm going to London for paintball.
she
What'd she
didn't
say?
care. You know, at that point, I was probably 27. So,
Yeah.
like, you know, I'm an adult at this point. So it's, you know, she can't really tell me no. She just, you know, be careful.
No, but she would I imagine she was like elated to hear that you're
Oh,
traveling.
yeah. She was jazzed up. Make, I mean, her big thing was make sure you call me every day
Oh
type
yeah,
thing.
the standard stuff.
Yeah, but she was excited for it. She, you know, wanted to see all the photos, wanted to log in and watch it. And I was like, well, we're not playing pro.
Mm.
But you know, she was ecstatic about it. The Canada stuff, she was thrilled about it too. Um, I mean,
How about
again,
joining the men?
yeah, I mean, she could tell my frustrations.
Yeah.
Um, Over the last 2 years, it was just becoming more and more work, and she could see how much it was affecting me. You know, it was just putting me in a bad mood, and you know, my wife could see it, my mom could see it, and she knew, and she told me she's like, I know this is your thing, but you know, sometimes in life you have to make hard decisions that you might regret or it could work out, and you know, and so far it's been a blessing, um, and she supports it. And I mean, day one when she saw the announcement, she said, "Make sure you get me some Ironmen t-shirts and stuff like that." So I mean, she was sad to see something I built me leave.
Sure.
Um, but other than that, you know, she was very happy for the peace of mind I'm going to get out of it.
That's awesome, dude. You got a supportive parents that help make it happen for you, and
Yeah,
a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't. They have to figure out a way, and a lot of times they don't.
yeah. I mean, I'm super support. Like I'm in a super good spot with it. You know, my dad doesn't understand paintball too much, but you know, he knows enough that it's affected my life in a positive way, and he's happy in that. And he'll ask how tournaments go. Where my mom is, you know, glued to the TV every tournament or coming to an event.
Yeah.
You know, my wife is the same way. She wants to come to every event she can, and she comes and she'll wake up 4 o'clock in the morning and make everyone breakfast and pack
Dang.
sandwiches, and she'll be in the pits potting, wiping people off. And, just I've been very lucky to have very supportive people in my life since day
For
one.
sure. Yeah, you got a unicorn there.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I'm very lucky.
So, what are you most thankful for that paintball has given you?
I mean, that's easy. It's the friendships. Um, I've met some of the greatest people because of paintball that I don't think I would have ever met without it.
Mhm.
Guys that I've met playing paintball, or guys that I hang out with 3 4 days outside of paintball, outside of work, and they're just lifetime long friends, regardless if we're playing paintball or not. That's been easily the greatest thing about paintball. Um, like even with like Shane and I feel like him and I talk more about hunting than we do paintball. It's just funny, just our normal redneck stuff. um, it sets you up, and you meet good people, and there is a lot of good people in paintball.
Yep.
Um, so that's been awesome. And it's everybody's very different, so you meet a lot of different personality friends. It always keeps it interesting and fresh.
Yeah. Awesome. Henry, man, I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for your time
Of
here.
course.
Is there anything that you'd like to part with for the paintball community?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, first and foremost, I want to wish the Revo guys the best of luck this year. Um, I still want to see them succeed and do well, and I also want to say thank you to my new family. Die Ironmen. Certainly Billy Wing, Chris Williamson, Shane Paxton, all those guys over there for making this possible, and I'm excited for the journey.
Awesome. See you in Vegas.
Yep, see you in Vegas.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Henry.
Yep, take care.